Hi, I'm Megan and welcome to my kitchen. In today's What's for Dinner video, I'll be sharing with you what meals we had this past week. Our dinners were easy to make, budget-friendly, and delicious. So if you're looking for some weeknight meal ideas for your family, just keep watching. For dinner this first night, we had traveled out of town. We drove up to Kentucky to stay for a couple days. We had a family reunion last Saturday. And this first night, we met my uncle at a new little like mom and pop burger place that opened up in our hometown. And it was delicious. I forgot to get a picture of what I had, honestly, because we'd been traveling. And then by the time we got to the hotel and then got dinner and started to eat, I was just hungry and scarfed it all down. But this is from their Facebook page. I got their, I think it's called the Whiskey Throttle Chicken. It was grilled chicken with grilled pineapple and then a homemade pineapple barbecue sauce and then fries. And they had like a special sauce that really tasted similar to Yum Yum sauce. This was delicious. Everyone in my family had different burgers and they were all really good. I tried one that my uncle got. It was really unique sounding. It had cream cheese on it and a raspberry chipotle sauce, which sounds kind of weird, but it was delicious. It was so good. So we'll definitely go back there next time we're in town, but that was our dinner this night. Now, real quick, this isn't a dinner, but I thought I would share it. This was our family reunion that we went to, and I just thought I'd share our spread. We had a little bit of everything: chicken and dressing, pulled pork, mac and cheese, green beans, pasta salad, deviled eggs, fresh vegetables, all kinds of yummy stuff. They also had like hot dogs set up with different toppings, chips, and we had all kinds of desserts. I took a ham. It was just showed just a second ago. It wasn't the ham in the crock pot. It was the one in the like baking dish. And then I made an Amish Macaroni Salad and no-bake cookies. And for the family reunion, we just visit. We, graze, and people bring instruments and we end up singing and playing and all that jazz. So it was really good. We had a really nice time and everything was delicious. So incredibly yummy. So for dinner the next night, we were going to go out to eat, but the day of the reunion, it was so incredibly hot and the air conditioning unit actually ended up freezing while we were all there. So it was really, really warm and the kids were worn out from playing. And then after the family reunion, my siblings and my husband and my dad stopped at the I think it's the Wolf Creek Dam near like Jamestown, Kentucky, and there's a fish hatchery there, and they stopped and said they like had to walk down and all this. So long story short, we were tired and exhausted. We did not feel like going anywhere. So I just called and ordered pizza, and let me show you what we got. We got a medium thin meat lovers. That's my dad's favorite. And then I wanted a chicken bacon ranch pizza. And I don't think my mom and siblings had tried it before, but they really liked it. So I got a medium chicken bacon ranch. I got tomatoes on half because my sister is not a fan of tomatoes. And then I got just a regular large pepperoni pizza and then a large cheese stick. And then we got some wings. So we did an assortment. We did medium buffalo, just plain with no sauce, and then barbecue. And those might not look like a lot, but those wings were delicious. Honestly, they were some of the best wings my husband and I have had. They were so good. And we had lots of leftover pizza that I sent home with my parents so that they didn't have to worry about either making lunch or dinner the day that they got back. And that was our dinner this night. The pizza and the wings were so good. So the next day we had traveled back home, and for whatever reason, I wanted chicken and dressing or turkey and dressing so bad, I did not know what to do with myself. So I went digging around and I actually had everything on hand that I needed to make it. I was so excited. So I had some dressing that's up in the left-hand corner. That was in my freezer. I had some Sister Schubert rolls, and then I had some cooked rotisserie chicken that I had just frozen at some point. I had a package of turkey gravy mix in my pantry, a can of green beans, and then I had this envelope of instant mashed potatoes. Now, I decided last minute I didn't want to make the instant mashed potatoes, so I just did a packet of the easy macaroni and cheese. I just cooked that up according to the package instructions. Now for the dressing and the chicken, they were frozen solid. I literally just pulled them out of my freezer right before dinner. So this was an experiment. I did not know how well it would turn out, and it actually turned out really good. All I did was I took the dressing, I put it in a bowl, I cooked it in the microwave on defrost until it was thoroughly thawed, and then I added just a little bit of water with chicken bouillon, or you could use chicken stock, and then I just drizzled just a little bit on that and popped it back in the microwave and cooked it until it was warm. For the rotisserie chicken, I did the same, just put it in a bowl, popped it in the microwave on defrost until it was defrosted, and then added just a tiny little bit of that chicken broth, and then microwaved it until it was warm. And for the gravy, all I did was follow the instructions on the packet. The green beans, I kind of did like a quick Mandy in the making version. I added just a tiny little bit of bacon grease to the pot, added the green beans, added some crumbled bacon pieces, the brown sugar, garlic powder, salt, pepper, and I think that's all. And then you just bring that to a boil, and I simmered it for about 15 minutes while the chicken and dressing were cooking. And then here's that Easy Mac. Like I said, just cooked it according to the package instructions, and I did add in just a tiny little splash of milk. For the roll, I popped that in the air fryer at, I don't know, maybe 350 for a few minutes until it was warm. Here's a picture of my plate. Just had a little bit of everything. This totally hit the spot, and I was really happy to use up several things in my freezer and pantry. Like I said, we would come home from traveling. I didn't have any meat thawed. I hadn't really been to the grocery store, so this was a great way to use up things on hand, and it was super, super yummy and comforting. For dinner the next night, I tried a new recipe for salmon sliders. I'm going to start out by making the side dish though, because that is going to sit in the refrigerator for a little bit. And I had plans to try a new recipe for like a grilled corn salad. But if you watch my grocery haul, I mentioned that Walmart grocery pickup, I used a different Walmart than my usual Walmart to pick up, and they left out like half my order, and the half of the order that they left out was pretty much produce. So I kind of had to adjust. So here's what I'm going to use to make this corn salad. I've got some Italian dressing, a couple cans of corn, and like I said, I would have preferred to use fresh corn, but I didn't get it, so I just used what I had on hand. I had just a little bit of this sweet balsamic vinaigrette that I wanted to use up. I've got some crumbled feta cheese, some fresh basil, some odds and ends of tomatoes, and then a cucumber. So all I did was chop up my vegetables. I drained the corn. I added the dressings, salt and pepper to taste, and then I popped this into the refrigerator and allowed it to chill for a couple hours. Right before serving, I added in the crumbled feta cheese. A few weeks ago, I started following this lady on Instagram. Her handle, I think, is Kimmy Creations. I'll have it linked in the description box below. I have several of her recipes pinned that I want to try. Everything she makes looks absolutely amazing, and I saw these and they looked so simple. I knew I wanted to give them a try, and they were delicious. So good. I highly recommend you all give these a try. Now, my husband, he loves seafood. Salmon, he can kind of take it or leave it, but he raved about these. Okay, so here's what we're going to use to make them. I'm going to start out by making the sauce so that can hang out in the refrigerator while I'm finishing dinner. It's just 2 ingredients. I'm going to add some mayonnaise to a bowl and then some sweet chili sauce. Use your favorite brands. And the post that I saw from Kimmy didn't have exact measurements, so I just added some mayonnaise, added a little sweet chili sauce, gave it a taste. I felt like it needed a little more sweet chili sauce, so I added that, stirred it until it was combined really well, and then popped that in the fridge. So for the salmon, I removed the skin and I just cut them into slider size pieces. I'm going to add a little bit of oil, and then for the seasonings, I didn't have the same seasonings that Kimmy used, so I decided to use some of the Auntie No-No's seafood seasoning, as well as this brown sugar garlic Kinder seasoning. This was my first time using this particular Kinder's, and the Kinder's with the Auntie No-No's, that combination was amazing. That was so good on the salmon. But use whatever seasonings you like or what you've got on hand. So I'm just going to rub both sides of the salmon with the oil and the seasonings, and then I'm going to set that to the side until I'm ready to cook it. I've got a little bit of butter in my skillet. It's over about medium-low heat. I'm going to add my slider buns and just cook them for a couple minutes until they're good and toasted. Once they're toasted, I'm going to remove them from the skillet and set them aside. In this same skillet, I've turned the heat up a little bit to about medium high. I'm going to add another little pat of butter as well as some oil. Once that's hot, I'm going to add my salmon, and I cook this for about 3 or 4 minutes on each side. How long you cook it really depends on how thick your salmon is and how you like it cooked, if you like it more on the rare, medium, or well side. But once the salmon is done, I'm ready to plate it up. All right, so here are the plates. I've added some of the corn salad, and then for the sliders, I added a piece of salmon to each slider roll. I topped the salmon with a piece of tomato as well as lettuce, and then added some of that sweet chili mayonnaise. This was so good. I cannot wait to make this again. My husband and I really enjoyed these. For dinner the next night, I had a chuck roast in my freezer that I wanted to use up, and I thought about making a pot roast, but I wanted to try something different. There's nothing wrong with pot roast. I love it, but like I said, I just wanted to make something different, so I went looking through my recipes, and I came across this one. I used to make this pretty often, but I haven't made it in a few years. I don't know why. I guess I just forgot about it, but it's from For the Love of Cooking. I'll have it linked down in my description box below. Here's what you need for it. You'll need some beef broth, chili powder, cumin, paprika, coriander, oregano, some salt and pepper, minced garlic, some green chilies. You also need jalapeno peppers. I didn't have any fresh, but I did have a can in my pantry, so I decided to use that. I've got some cilantro, and then of course the chuck roast. Now, I did go off the recipe a little bit. The recipe says like to sear the chuck roast on top of the stove, but this day I was just being lazy. So I just basically put everything into the crock pot and cooked it on low for about 8 hours. And then once it was done, I shredded the beef, and I'll get started on the side dish. So for the side, I made some Mexican corn. I believe this is Tyler Florence's recipe. I'll have it, of course, linked down below. To start out, you need to grill the corn. Today, it was super, super hot, and going outside and starting up that grill in this heat, especially just for some corn, was a no-go for me, so I went for easy. I took some corn on the cob. I cut it in half just to make it easier to eat. I placed this into the air fryer at 370 degrees. I cooked it for about 15 or 16 minutes, and I did rotate it about halfway through. While the corn was cooking, I set up my station. So in this bowl, I'm going to add in the sour cream, as well as the mayonnaise and the cilantro. Now, this is what the recipe calls for you to do at this step, and then it says that once the corn is done, to add some fresh lime juice. I decided to just go ahead and add the lime juice to this sour cream mayonnaise mixture just to make it easier. So once I've got the lime juice, sour cream, mayo, and cilantro, I'm going to stir that until it's well combined and move that to the side. In this plate, I've got some grated Parmesan cheese, and then we're going to add a little chili powder on top. All right, so here are the toppings that I set out for us for our tacos. Use whatever toppings you and your family like, what you've got on hand. You could go the more like traditional route of just cilantro, lime, onions, salsas. I decided to go more like the Tex-Mex American route and do like some shredded cheese, lettuce, tomatoes, sour cream, and then we have just some other condiments if we would like to add those. And here are the plates. So we've got some of the tacos, the corn, and then some lime for the corn as well as the tacos. That shredded beef was delicious. I had leftovers, so I put that into my freezer. I'll use that later for quesadillas or burritos or something. The corn was delicious. It was so good. Now, I will say I did have the recipe, and I felt like there was quite a bit of mayonnaise and sour cream left over. So if you decide to make this, which I highly recommend, even if you do the full recipe, I would still half the amount of sauce, if that makes sense. So if you have the recipe like I did, quarter the sauce. I hope that makes sense. But both of these recipes are super yummy. I highly recommend you give them a try. For the last dinner in this week's video, I tried the Pioneer Woman's Sloppy Joe's recipe. I've had a recipe for Sloppy Joe's that I've used for years that I got from All Recipes, and we like it, but honestly, I think this will be my new go-to from now on. We really enjoyed this. Now, if you like canned Sloppy Joe sauce, there is nothing at all wrong with that, but if you've never tried homemade Sloppy Joe's, I highly recommend you give it a try. It's really easy, and you honestly probably have everything on hand that you need to make it. All right, let me show you how I did this. In this skillet, I've got some lean ground beef that I seasoned with salt and pepper. I added some diced onion. I happen to have a red or purple onion on hand, so that's what I used. The recipe also called for bell pepper, but again, with the grocery pickup snafu, I didn't have bell pepper. But I just cooked the ground beef and the onion until the onion was tender and the ground beef was cooked all the way through. I was using lean ground beef, so I didn't have to drain it, but if you're using regular ground beef, you may need to drain it. Next, I added the minced garlic and tomato paste. I gave that a stir and I allowed it to cook for just about 30 or 45 seconds. And then I'm just going to add everything else. So I'm going to add my chili powder, dry mustard, Worcestershire sauce, the ketchup, water, brown sugar, and then salt and pepper to taste. I'm going to stir that until it's combined really well. And then I allowed this to simmer for about 15 or 20 minutes. Now, the recipe also called for Tabasco sauce, which it said was optional, and red pepper flakes. I skipped both of those, just a personal preference. I haven't ever used like red pepper flakes or anything like that in my sloppy joes, so I just skipped it for today. All right, here is what the sloppy joe mixture looked like when it was done. Give this a taste and adjust the seasonings. To go along with this, I just cooked up some tater tots that I had gotten from Aldi. I cooked them in the air fryer at 400 degrees for about 15 or 16 minutes. I shook them halfway through and then I added a little bit of seasoned salt when they were done. Here are the plates. So I toasted up some brioche hamburger buns that I got from Walmart, just added a little butter and cooked those in the air fryer. Added the sloppy joe mixture. My husband likes cheese on his sloppy joes, so I added a piece of cheese to his. And then we've got the tater tots with some ketchup for dipping, and this was delicious. So good. All right, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this gave you some dinner inspiration. If you liked this video, hit the thumbs up button below and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.